Welcome to BATV and an opportunity to catch up with a couple of old friends. And I speak here of Joe Aarons to my right and John Carter to my left. Joe is currently the president of World Bowls. John is a director of World Bowls, formerly a chairman of Bowls New Zealand, and we know Joe as formerly the president here of Bowls Australia. It's a great opportunity, Joe. It's about 7 months since we had a chat to you since your appointment as president, and you were keen on some change to World Bowls at the time of your appointment to presidency, and you've achieved some of that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andrew. It's good to be back on TV with you. Yes, we've, look, now 5 months has gone by, nearly 6 months since we've officially got into office, and it's been an interesting road. Yeah, we set about to do our due diligence, which we did originally, and we set up some interesting points that we had to fix in this company, and we're well on the way to doing that. So,
one of the first things that you did when you took office there was to go about a rebranding process of World Bowls and to give it a fresh new face, a new look, and that all started with a new logo, and down the track I hear a new website's on the horizon as well.
Yes, the rebranding was quite an issue. We thought new board, we'll give the company a rebrand, which we discussed 7 months ago. And we did that by putting out a competition, a logo competition to all the countries. And it went far and wide, Andrew, much better than we ever thought. We had over 150 individual entries into it. They came from countries that weren't lawn bowls countries. Quite a lot of professional people put in their bids, and we eventually picked one as a board, and funnily enough, it was for an Australian. We didn't even know where he was from because his email address, of course, didn't tell us where he was from. But it was a young man from Sydney named Ken Anderson who had put together quite a nice logo, which we now is now in use, and we're rebranding with it. And we're in the process now of tendering for the website. So, yeah, everything's happening there.
What would you like the website to be, Joe? Would it be a place you would hope people from right around the world would go to for news, for results? What purpose does the website for World Bowl serve?
Well, it's hard to distinguish what it serves right now, but believe it or not, Andrew, we have, I think, John, it's about 3 million hits a year, is it, or 1.5?
Pretty extensive, mainly for events, I suspect.
It's quite an extensive thing now, and the website is just a flat face. So we'll be rebuilding it with a back end that is data based and quite easy, user friendly. Yeah, we're hoping that people will go there for information about what's happening about bowls around the world, not just events, not just results, but what we're doing. And the development of the sport, which we're all about. It started off as events-based World Bowls. We're now looking at developing the sport around the world. And my word, we're getting there.
I suppose we can't underestimate just exactly what the business or the organisation is called World Bowls, and the direction for the sport at a global level. We are still a Commonwealth Games sport, a foundation sport in the Commonwealth Games. The direction from the top for a sport that is so highly participated in right around the world. Very important now to do some sustainability work on the work previously done by the board, and now going forward into what is a really important time for the sport.
Yes, Andrew, you've really hit it on the head. We're all about, look, we are Commonwealth Games, as we know. We're one of the required sports for Commonwealth Games. We want to leave it that way. We want to develop that way, but we also want to develop the sport and make it available to all of anybody that wants to play it around the world. What other sport do you know where anybody can play it, whether they've got a disability, whether they're 4 or 5 years old, whether they're a mother, a father, a grandfather, a grandmother, whether they've got a bad hip or a bad leg, or just full health? They can all play together. There's no other sport that we know of, so we want to promote that.
John, to you, some changes to the board under Joe's sort of presidency recently. 2 new appointments. Can you tell us about those 2 new people to the board?
Yes, Andrew. As it's probably well known out there were 4 elected positions on the board, which were filled pretty quickly. Joe was president, of course, and we had 3 regional directors, one for Europe, including the British Isles, another for Africa and Americas. and the other Asia Pacific, which I was fortunate enough to be elected to. There was 3 other positions available to be appointed directors, and what the board did at our first meeting was to do a skills analysis, just check out where the 4 were missing, and we quickly identified that really as in the marketing and the IT department. And sponsorship expertise. So we subsequently called for nominations, and of course I must also say that at least 2 of the board had to be the female gender, of which we didn't have. So that sort of cut the field down a little bit. And we've been very fortunate to pick up 2 very good ladies. Heather Welsh is one of them. She's an expat Australian now living in Singapore. Previously was the CEO of the New South Wales Women's Bowling Association, so she's right up with the playing with bowls. And the other is a lady called Nita Chambers from the United States. Once again, she's a bowler, very passionate about being involved in bowls in that part of the world, and now looking forward to contributing extensively to World Bowls.
And already you've implemented to these people who are situated right around the world, 6 board members in 6 different countries, and you got them all on the phone the other day for a teleconference and working into the year 2013 in terms of technology. Yeah,
we did, Andrew. That was an interesting exercise. Not straightforward, of course. Joe came up with this idea of a go-to-meeting, which is more or less a sort of a glorified Skype-type operation. And so we all got together a week or so ago. I think the guys in the British Isles, including CE Gary Smith, they were on the computer at 7 a.m. in the morning. Singapore, New Zealand, and Australia. We were pretty lucky actually. We got the Sunday afternoon shift, and unfortunately Nita in the States, she was the one that copped the short straw. She was on. We had a 4-hour meeting, so she was on board from 11 p.m. till 3 a.m. in the morning. So that was a big haul for her, but I think it was a well worth exercise and a great way to have a meeting. So you can't beat face to face, but in the meantime, this is a great way to keep in touch and keep the place going.
Game development and the event sort of aspect of the sport from a World Bowls perspective is really important to collaborate and to I suppose to get all the events timed well enough to advantage all the countries in their chosen areas. Tell us a little bit about the tender for the future tournaments as part of the World Bowls agenda at the moment.
Well, Andrew, all World Bowls events will be going out to tender to all the member nations around the world, of which there are some 52, I think. The Southern Hemisphere has had a bit of a mortgage on World Bowls events in recent years, which really is mainly because no one in the Northern Hemisphere has bothered to tender for them. But we'd like to see that change. We've, of course, got the Glasgow Commonwealth Games coming up next year, so that's going to take bowls back to the Northern Hemisphere. The next events after that really are the Atlantic Championships, which are being held in the Northern Hemisphere, and of course the Asia Pacific down here will be in Christchurch in New Zealand. Both those events are qualifiers for the 2016 World Championships, so they're very important tournaments. And we just have gone out to tender for the Asia Pacific has been already awarded to New Zealand, and the Atlantic is going out to tender for the Northern Hemisphere. So we're hoping to seal that deal within the next couple of months.
Terrific. Joe, Equipment Committee, tell us a little bit about this new initiative through World Bowls as well.
Yes, we when we came into office, we found that there was a need for regulating and registering of all the manufactured items that relate to bowling, and that was not only bowls, but surfaces, the installation of surfaces, things like disabilities, equipment that's used for disabilities, and a simple thing like a measure. So we followed the line that hockey had used some years ago, and World Hockey. And after talking to somebody that was involved in that, we got the idea of forming an equipment committee, and that equipment committee would look at the regulation and registration of these items. Now, how do you do that? We've got 4 bowls manufacturers in Australia, and it's well known that the 4 bowls manufacturers in the main don't get on. So you couldn't have them on the committee. But there is a way of doing this. We were lucky enough to get a guy named Neil Furman, who's in America, lives in America, and Neil will chair this committee. On the committee will be your own Mark Cowan, who's on the laws committee for World Bowls, and of course, he's an officiating chairman here. And we've also got on some surface manufacturers, such as the owner of Dales, Richard Stedman. There's a guy from who originally started the making of synthetic surfaces in Australia, or in the world actually, and that's a guy from Sydney named Gary Waterford. And we've just put on Keith McAuliffe, who has the background in not only synthetic surfaces but also grass. And I've left one out. Oh yes, one of the best known around the world installers of surfaces is Alan Berry, our own Alan Berry from Australia. So those guys will be meeting in the next week, also electronically or telecommunication-wise, and they will be starting their process. Amongst that will be a questionnaire that will go out to the bowls manufacturers. Each one of those is on board with us now, and by the end of this process, we should have this committee will come back to our board with recommendations on things like regulations of the manufacturing of these items, but not only that, but the licensing of the items and the registration, giving them a life. Once we have that, we've made a commitment as a board that all the finances that are derived from that income stream will go into the development of our sport around the world. And countries like Sri Lanka, which is now just coming on board with lawn bowls, Pakistan, we have commitments now with China and Hong Kong, Malaysia. John is working now with Fiji along with Bowls Australia on a fellowship for somebody from Fiji. All of these things will just develop. So that's what we're about right now. It's all in the development of the sport.
You've left us in no doubt that is your charter in life at the moment, is to make change and to continue development. Are you happy with the first 6-7 months of your time in the chair, and what does the next sort of 2 or 3 months hold?
Well, that's an interesting question, mate. It's been a very, very hard 6 months. We've worked very, very hard. I mean, John must be sick of me because we're local, virtually local, and I get John on Skype just about every day. I speak to the other guys on Skype quite a lot too. Things like policies that haven't existed. But that's why John's here in Australia now. We're just going through things like policies and regulations for World Bowls. It's been a hard time, but it's like developing any other business, Andrew. You buy a business, and the first thing you got to do is do your business plan. We're in the process now as a board of approving a strategic plan for the years 2014 to 17 that will be sent out to all of the NMAs, the national authorities, for their discussion. And once that's all finished, that will be our strategic plan. This just wasn't there before, and so when you say has it been hard, it's been very hard. And the next 2 or 3 months will really, Andrew, I'm taking a month off. I'm going away for a month next Thursday, and even though I'll be still in touch, through iPad and the rest of it, I'm going to have 4 weeks break. But after that, even my holiday there, I finish up in Singapore, meeting up with the Olympic Organising Committee in Singapore, and also the Lawn Bowls people in Singapore, and of course Heather, our board member. Mm-hmm. So it's all work anyhow, even though I'm on holidays.
We've left Bowls Australia in very good condition when you took up the appointment with World Bowls. Congratulations on what you've achieved so far in your position, and all the best going forward for the next however long it takes to achieve what you want to achieve. Good luck with that. John, thank you very much for your time as well.
Pleasure, Andrew. Pleasure.
Nice to see you here in Australia, and we'll keep you updated, I suppose, on the developments of World Bowls as we go forward. And it's been great to catch up with Joe Aarons, the president of World Bowls, and one of the directors also here, John Carter.